Strange but true stories. Tales from the light side, the dark side, and the other side. I'm Steve White. It was October of 2016, and it was mushroom season in Washington State. Lots of people in Lewis County, Washington are in the woods just before hunting season gathering mushrooms. This particular day, a friend and I decided to try a new area up in the Lincoln Creek Valley, about 30 miles from Centralia. It just so happened that this DNR gate was open, and we drove to the top of one foothill and parked the truck on the side of the road. It looked like a good possibility for finding mushrooms. I spotted an opening in the forested area, and that's where we entered. I was immediately taken back by the forest floor. It was spotless, no twigs or limbs like we usually find. And then I noticed two large nests, like structures, woven like baskets. I told my friend Tom, something is living here. We figured that they were at least 10 feet across. They were perfectly round, and they accounted for all the sticks and limbs on the forest floor. We had no cameras. We only had our cell phones, and so we took a few snapshots from the phone and then decided that there were no mushrooms in sight, so we would go home and come back tomorrow with the camera and take some decent pictures. We returned the next day to find that both nests were gone and the forest floor was covered in sticks and limbs. Now, that really gave me the creeps. We searched the area in the woods for other signs, and I found a couple of wannabe Bigfoot tracks in the pine needle floor. One side of the forest was logged off, and you could see the sun lighting up the field on that end of the woods. And the back side of the property dropped off rather steeply, and there was a large trail that circled the bottom and back onto the logging road. So it basically looked like a large circle of roads and trails that all connected. You just have to see it to get a gist of the location. I'm a nervous guy, and when I see something that has been there and then that stuff is gone and they covered their tracks, right away, I don't know, I just want to get out of there. My friend just laughed at me and said it has to be someone screwing with us. No one knew it was there but the two of us. We left and decided we would come back another time and look for a sign or structures or something. It was about 2 weeks when we packed a lunch, brought the dogs along, and I insisted on bringing a gun. This time the gate was locked, so we decided to hike up the hill, which was better than a 45-degree slant straight up the hill. The road had a Y in it. It ran off to the left at a 90-degree angle, straight up, where it leveled off. Just before the Y in the road, we passed the opening of the lower part of the hill. It was like a really big game trail. Fresh dirt came out of it and onto the logging road. I noticed, again, several Bigfoot prints coming out of there and heading up the hill in front of us. They looked fresh. I wanted to head back down to the truck, but we kept on going. We proceeded up the hill, and one of the dogs stopped at the bend in the road and began to bark uncontrollably. My friend Tom said, well, she barks at a mouse, so don't let that get you all shaken up before we get to the top. We got to the area, and we entered the woods. In a different area, we noticed new nests were built. Now, Tom always takes the dogs and goes his own way, and he leaves me to do the finer investigation, like look for tracks and anything else that I may discover. It had been about a half hour or so when I began to hear noises in the woods. Sticks breaking, when someone's walking around. And I hollered, "Is that you, Thomas?" I didn't get a response. Right away, I was like, boy, he has the gun. I looked around and I didn't see anything, but I was freaking out. All of a sudden, I realized we did not have a quick getaway. We had to hike about a half mile to get out of there. I heard more sticks and limbs cracking. Some were just off the road from me, which seemed like about, 30 feet or so. Facing towards where the forest met the logged-off area, one of the dogs came running out and onto the road, right where the edge of the woods were. Greta, that's the name of the dog, was running for her life. A Sasquatch was right on her tail. It jumped up onto the road and stopped and looked directly at me. The dog came at me and climbed right up my body and was shaking really bad.
I made eye contact with the Sasquatch, and for a moment we stood face to face. I mean, he was a lot taller than I was. And then it jumped off the road and ran across the field like grease lightning. I watched it until it disappeared. By then I was so freaked out I felt like my mind had left my body and I was too terrified to move. It affected all of my senses. I was numb. Then I heard the stick snapping and something was walking inside the woods to my right. And then I realized there was more than one. I walked to where the road took its bend and stood there waiting for my partner to show. It seemed like eternity. But he eventually came out of the woods down a little further, and he was completely oblivious to anything that had just taken place. I'll tell you one thing. I'm not ever going back to that place again.
This has been another strange but true story sent to us by a viewer just like you. So, what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks to those who have. And if you have a story you would like to share with us, send it to strangebutTrueStories2@gmail.com. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Steve White. Until next time.